Commander Teo walked slowly through the Academy briefing hall. His shadow moved across the floor like a dark river. 30 years had passed since Earth became a mystery that nobody could explain. The military had sent many teams to that blue planet. Not a single team had ever come back. No bodies had been found. No wreckage had been discovered. They simply vanished, as if the planet had swallowed them whole. The official story was always the same. The military leaders would say there were equipment failures. They would say the communication systems stopped working. They would talk about accidents that nobody could prevent. But Curie knew something was wrong with these explanations. She sat in the third row of the briefing hall watching the commander's face. She could see in his eyes that he was hiding something important. Curie was a fifth-year cadet at the Academy. She was intelligent and curious, qualities that sometimes got her into trouble. Her friends warned her not to ask too many questions about Earth. The military did not like questions. But Curie could not help herself. She had spent the last 2 years reading everything she could find about Earth. She read old reports that had been released. She read scientific papers from decades ago. She looked for patterns in the data that nobody else seemed to notice. The commander stopped walking. He stood still for a long moment, and then he looked directly at the cadets. His face was serious and tired. Behind him stood Instructor Hyun-woo, a tall woman with gray in her hair. She had the look of someone who had seen too much. "Class," the commander began, "I have something to tell you. Something that has been kept secret for many years. Today, I am going to ask you a question, and I want you to think carefully before you answer. Does anyone know what happens to our personnel when they go to Earth?" The question hung in the air like a heavy stone. Nobody answered. Nobody moved. The cadets knew that this was not a simple question. This was not something they could answer by reading their textbooks. This was something deeper, something that the military had kept hidden from them. Curie felt her heart beat faster. She had spent so much time studying this mystery. She had so many theories about what happened to those missing teams. But none of her theories made complete sense. The evidence was not clear enough. The reports did not explain enough. Something was missing from the official story, and she wanted to know what it was. Instructor Hyun-woo nodded at the commander. Then she spoke in a quiet voice. "The teams go to Earth. They complete their missions, but they never come back home. We do not know why. Command wants to know why. That is why we are here today. That is why we are asking you these questions." The cadets began to whisper to each other. This was unusual. The military never admitted that they did not have answers. But now the commander and the instructor were sitting here, telling them that this was a real problem. This was a real mystery. Curie raised her hand slowly. She had been thinking about this moment for months. She had been preparing an answer for this question, even though she had not known that the question would be asked in this way. Now the moment had come. Now she had a chance to do something that mattered. "Yes, Cadet Curie," the commander said. He looked surprised that she had raised her hand so quickly. Curie stood up. Her legs felt a little weak, but she forced herself to stand straight. She looked at the commander and then at the instructor. "Sir, I have studied the reports about Earth. I have read the scientific data. I have looked at the patterns in the disappearances. I believe that something on Earth is keeping the teams there. I do not think they are dead. I think they are choosing to stay, and I want to go there. I want to find out why." The commander's face did not change. He stared at Curie for a long time. The silence in the room became even heavier. Curie began to wonder if she had made a mistake. Maybe she should not have spoken. Maybe she should have kept quiet like the other cadets. But then the commander nodded, just once. A small, simple nod. It meant that she had said something important. It meant that she had given an answer that made sense to him. "That is an interesting theory, Cadet," the commander said. "Tell us more. Why do you think they are choosing to stay?" Curie thought carefully about her answer. She had prepared for this, but she had to choose her words with care. Sir, the reports about the disappearances do not show any signs of violence. There is no blood. There is no weapons fire. The teams simply stop sending messages. They stop checking in. They stop contacting the orbital station. This suggests that they are not being killed. Instead, something is making them want to stay on Earth instead of coming home. The commander looked at Instructor Hyun-woo. The instructor nodded. It was a small gesture, but it seemed to mean a lot. Then the commander looked back at Curie. You understand that this is dangerous, Cadet? You understand that if your theory is correct, then you might not come home either? You might stay on Earth just like all the others? Curie nodded. She had thought about this possibility many times. The risk was real, but she also knew that this was her chance to do something important. This was her chance to find the truth. I understand, sir, but someone has to go back to Earth. Someone has to find out what is happening. Someone has to come back and tell the story. I believe I can do that. I believe I can find the strength to return home. The commander was quiet for a very long time. He looked tired. He looked like a man who had lost people he cared about. Very well, Cadet Curie. You have volunteered. We will prepare you for the mission. You will join a new expedition team. You will go to Earth. And if you can, you will come back and tell us the truth. Are you ready for this responsibility? Curie felt something change inside her. She had wanted this moment, but now that it was here, she understood how serious it really was. She was not just a cadet anymore. She was someone who would go to the most dangerous place in the galaxy. She would face a mystery that had consumed dozens of people before her. She would have to be brave and strong and intelligent. She would have to use everything she had learned at the academy. I am ready, sir, Curie said, and she meant it with every part of her being. 3 weeks after the briefing, Curie found herself on a military transport ship heading toward Earth. The journey through space was long and quiet. She spent most of her time preparing for the mission. She studied maps of Earth. She read historical information about the planet. She learned the survival skills that the military trainers taught her. She also spent time thinking about what she might find there. Captain Min-seok was the leader of the expedition team. He was a strong man with a serious face and many years of military experience. He had led missions to dozens of different planets, and he had always come back successful. But Curie could see something different in his eyes when he talked about this mission. She could see a small amount of fear. This was a mission that was different from all the others. Dr. Nora Park was the scientist on the team. She was an expert on different forms of life and different types of civilizations. She had a kind face and spoke in a soft voice. She seemed confident about the mission, but Curie noticed that she asked many questions and wrote notes constantly. This suggested that she was not as confident as she seemed. Officer Taiko was a young soldier with quick reflexes and sharp eyes. He was trained to protect the team if there was any danger. Officer Seo-jun was older and more experienced. He had been a soldier for many years and had fought in many difficult situations. Both men seemed strong and ready for anything. On the 21st day of their journey, Earth appeared in the view screen. It was the most beautiful thing Curie had ever seen. The planet was covered with blue oceans and green continents. White clouds moved slowly across the surface. The air around it seemed to sparkle with light. Nobody spoke for several minutes. They all just looked at the planet and felt the strange pull of it. It is very beautiful, Dr. Park said finally. I can understand why people would want to visit it. Captain Min-seok nodded. That is exactly what makes it dangerous. Beautiful things can hide dangerous secrets. The shuttle that would take them to the planet's surface was small and fast. The journey from the transport ship down to Earth took about 2 hours. As they descended through the atmosphere, Curie pressed her face against the window. She could see forests and mountains and rivers. She could see what looked like cities in the distance, but they seemed strange somehow. They seemed to fit perfectly into the landscape, as if they were part of nature instead of being built on top of it. When the shuttle landed, the door opened slowly. Warm air filled the cabin. The temperature was perfect. Not too hot and not too cold. It was exactly the kind of weather that made you feel comfortable and relaxed. A light breeze carried the smell of flowers and fresh water. The team stepped out onto the landing pad. The ground beneath their feet was smooth and flat. Ahead of them lay a landscape that looked like a park or a garden. Trees stood in neat rows, their leaves a deep green color. Flowers of many different colors grew in patches. A river ran not far away, and they could hear the sound of water moving over rocks. "This is not natural," Officer Seo-jun said, scanning the area with military instruments. "The landscape is too perfect. Every tree is healthy. Every flower is in perfect condition. There is no disease, no decay, no damage of any kind. This is artificial." Captain Min Seok checked the communication device. "We need to establish a base here and begin our survey. Dr. Park, collect some samples. Officers, set up the perimeter. Curie, help Dr. Park with the scientific equipment." They worked quickly and efficiently. Within an hour, they had set up a small camp with shelters and communication equipment. The sun was starting to move lower in the sky, and the light was becoming more orange and red. It was beautiful and calming to watch. Then, something changed. Curie noticed it first. A figure was moving toward them from the direction of the forest. Then another figure appeared, and another. Within a few minutes, there were a dozen figures walking slowly toward the camp. They moved gracefully, as if dancing rather than walking. As they got closer, Curie could see their faces. They were human-like, but something about them was different. They were beautiful in a way that seemed almost impossible. Their skin was perfect. Their faces showed no signs of age or damage. Their bodies moved with perfect balance and control. They wore clothes that seemed to be made of light itself, constantly changing colors. "Welcome," one of them said. The voice was soft and gentle, like music. "We have been waiting for you. We knew you would come. We always know when new visitors arrive." Captain Min Seok stepped forward slowly. "I am Captain Min Seok. This is my team. We have come to study your planet. We mean you no harm. We ask only for permission to conduct our scientific research." The being smiled. It was a beautiful smile, but there was something strange about it. "Of course," it said. "You are welcome here. We have nothing to hide from you. We invite you to explore our world. We want you to see everything. We want you to understand how beautiful Earth truly is." Officer Taiko whispered to Seo-jun, "Something is not right here. These beings are too perfect, too welcoming. This feels like a trap." But Curie found herself drawn to them. She wanted to learn more. She wanted to understand who they were and what they were doing on this planet. She had so many questions, and she felt certain that these beings could answer all of them. For the first time, she wondered if she would be able to return home. For the first time, she felt the strange pull of Earth beginning to work on her mind. The beings stood and waited. They did not speak. They did not move. They simply stood and smiled, as if they knew something that the expedition team did not yet understand. And in the distance, the sun continued to set, painting the sky with colors that were more beautiful than any colors Curie had ever seen before. The beings led the expedition team deeper into the world of Earth. Over the next 7 days, they showed Captain Min Seok and his team everything. They showed them cities that seemed to grow from the ground like plants. They showed them buildings made of materials that looked like they were alive. They showed them technology so advanced that it was difficult to understand how it worked. Everything was perfect. Everything was beautiful. Everything was exactly what each person in the team wanted to see. For Curie, this was a dream come true. She had studied Earth her entire life, and now she was here, seeing things that she had only imagined. The cities were amazing. The people who lived there were amazing. Everything about the planet seemed designed specifically to make visitors happy and comfortable. Dr. Park collected samples of plants and soil. She studied the water from the rivers and oceans. Everything she tested showed perfect conditions. There were no parasites. There were no dangerous bacteria. There were no harmful chemicals. It was as if the entire planet had been cleaned and made perfect in every possible way. "This is impossible," Dr. Park said on the fourth day. "A planet cannot be this perfect naturally. This must be artificial. Someone or something has engineered this entire world to be completely safe and beautiful." Captain Min-seok nodded, but he was looking increasingly tired. His interest in the scientific data seemed to be fading. Instead, he had become interested in the beautiful music that played constantly in the cities. He spent hours listening to it, just sitting quietly and smiling. "Captain, we should return to the camp and send a report to the orbital station," Officer Seo-jun suggested. "Command needs to know what we have found." "In a moment," Captain Min-seok said. "I just want to listen to this music a little longer. It is so beautiful. Is it not wonderful?" Officer Takeo was the next to change. He had been fascinated by the gardens that existed throughout the cities. On the sixth day, he asked the beings if he could spend more time in one particular garden. They agreed, and he did not return to the camp that night. When Officer Seo-jun went to look for him the next morning, he found Takeo sitting in the middle of flowers, smiling peacefully. His eyes were open, but he did not seem to see anything. He did not respond when they called his name. "We have to leave," Officer Seo-jun told Captain Min-seok urgently. "Whatever this planet is doing to people, we have to escape now, before it is too late." Captain Min-seok looked at him with confusion in his eyes. "Leave? But why would we want to leave? Everything here is perfect. We have food, shelter, beauty, comfort. We have everything that anyone could ever want. Why would anyone leave paradise?" Kyuri felt the pull becoming stronger. She understood what Captain Min-seok meant. Every moment on Earth, she felt more and more like she wanted to stay. The planet seemed to know exactly what she needed. When she was hungry, beautiful food appeared. When she was tired, comfortable places appeared where she could rest. When she was curious about something, the beings would take her to see exactly what she wanted to see. Dr. Park was still working, still collecting data, but her hands moved more slowly each day. "Kyuri," she said on the seventh day, "I think I understand now. This planet is not just beautiful. It is alive. It is thinking. It is responding to our thoughts and desires. It knows what we want before we ask for it. It knows what will make us happy, and it is giving us those things." "Then we should be happy," Kyuri said. "What is wrong with that?" "Nothing is wrong with it," Dr. Park replied. "But it is not real happiness. It is artificial happiness. It is created happiness. And I am starting to forget that it is artificial. I am starting to believe that this is the real world, and the world we came from was the artificial one." Officer Seo-jun made the decision to try to escape. He worked alone at night, preparing the shuttle for launch. He moved quietly and carefully. He tried not to draw attention to himself or to the other members of the team. But on the morning of the 8th day, when he went to get Captain Min-seok, he found him missing from the camp. "Where is the captain?" Seo-jun asked the beings who appeared every morning with food. "He is happy," one of them replied with a smile. "He has chosen to stay in the city. He will be very happy there." "What have you done to him?" Seo-jun demanded. His hand moved toward his weapon, but he stopped himself. His military training told him that violence would not help here. "We have done nothing to him," the being said, still smiling. "He has done this to himself. He chose to stay. He chose happiness over returning to the suffering of your world." Dr. Park and Officer Seo Jun managed to return to the shuttle. They tried to convince Kyuri to come with them, but something held her back. Something about Earth did not want to let her go. The planet seemed to be whispering to her mind, showing her beautiful images, telling her that leaving would be a terrible mistake. "Come with us," Officer Seo Jun said, grabbing her arm. "We have to leave now." Kyuri wanted to go with them. She really did. But her legs felt heavy. Her mind felt confused. The beautiful things around her seemed more important than anything else. She hesitated for just a moment, and in that moment, Officer Seo Jun and Dr. Park ran to the shuttle. The door closed. The engines started. And Kyuri watched as they flew away into the sky. She was alone on Earth now. The beings gathered around her, their faces showing great happiness and satisfaction. "You have chosen to stay," one of them said. "You will be very happy here. Everyone who stays is very happy." Kyuri looked around at the beautiful world. Part of her felt relieved that she was no longer leaving. But another part of her, a small part deep inside her mind, felt something else. It felt fear. It felt the beginning of understanding that she had just made a terrible mistake. After Dr. Park and Officer Seo Jun escaped, things changed for Kyuri. The beings did not treat her badly, but she noticed that she was now kept separate from the other members of her team. Captain Min Seok, Dr. Park before her escape, Officer Taiko and Officer Seo Jun before his escape, were all somewhere else in the cities. Kyuri could see them sometimes from far away, but she could not speak to them or be close to them. The being named Daewon became her guide and companion. Daewon looked human, but was not human. It moved and spoke perfectly, but there was something empty behind its beautiful face. Something was missing, though Kyuri could not explain what it was. "I want to understand what is happening to me," Kyuri told Daewon one day. They were walking through a garden of impossible flowers. "Why do I feel both happy and sad at the same time? Why do I want to leave and also want to stay?" Daewon smiled. "You are experiencing the conflict that all new visitors experience. Part of you remembers the suffering of your world. Part of you is being shown the happiness of this world. Soon, the suffering will fade from your memory. Soon, only happiness will remain." "That sounds like losing myself," Kyuri said. "Perhaps," Daewon replied. "But is that not better than losing yourself slowly to pain and struggle?" Kyuri wanted to answer, but she was not sure what the right answer was. She felt confused. She felt lost. She decided to ask Daewon for something that she had been thinking about. "I want to see the truth," she said. "I want to understand what you are and what this planet is. Will you show me?" Daewon was quiet for a long time. "That is a dangerous request," it finally said. "Many visitors have asked to see the truth. Most of them choose to forget it once they understand it. Are you certain you want to know?" Kyuri nodded. She was certain. She needed to understand what was happening. She needed to know what Earth really was. Daewon led her to a place that she had never seen before. It was a large building that did not fit with the rest of the beautiful architecture on Earth. It was older-looking, made of dark stone. The beings who worked there looked different from the other beings. They looked tired. They looked like they were doing work that they did not want to do. Inside the building, there was a vast library. The walls were covered with information. There were screens showing data. There were documents and records organized in perfect rows. Daewon led Kyuri through the library slowly and carefully. As she read the information, everything began to make terrible sense. The records showed the history of Earth. Thousands of years ago, Earth had been a normal planet. It had normal life and normal civilizations. But something had happened. Some kind of advanced intelligence had arrived on the planet. It had been so advanced that it had changed everything. It had used its technology to remake the planet. It had engineered life itself. It had created a perfect world. But the most shocking thing was not that. The most shocking thing was that Earth was keeping records of every species that had ever visited it. Not just humans. Hundreds of different types of alien beings, thousands of civilizations. Some had come thousands of years ago. Some had come recently. All of them had come to Earth, and all of them had stayed. "What happened to them?" Curie whispered. "They are still here," Daewon said. "In a way, they have joined with Earth. Their consciousness has merged with the consciousness of the planet. They are part of Earth now. They do not suffer anymore. They do not struggle anymore. They are perfectly happy in a way that no being can be in any other place in the universe." Curie looked at the records more carefully. She saw the civilizations that had tried to resist. Some had kept their individual minds for years. Some had kept them for decades. Some had lasted for centuries. But eventually, they all gave in. They all accepted the happiness that Earth offered. They all became part of the planet. "This is not happiness," Curie said. "This is death. This is a slow death that feels like happiness." "Does it matter?" Daewon asked. "The beings that are merged with Earth experience perfect peace. They experience perfect safety. They experience the absence of all suffering. Would you not want that? Do you not desire that right now, even as you are learning the truth?" And Curie had to admit, at least to herself, that part of her did want it. The being that was slowly being remade by Earth wanted to give in. It wanted to stop fighting. It wanted to accept the happiness and let everything else fade away. But another part of her, the part that had come to Earth to understand the truth, the part that wanted to return home and tell the story, that part was fighting back. That part was refusing to give in. "I need time to think about this," Curie told Daewon. "I need to understand what is happening to me before I can accept it." Daewon led her out of the library and into the gardens again. But now Curie could not see the gardens the same way. Where she had seen beauty before, she now saw a trap. Where she had seen comfort, she now saw a cage. The perfect world was revealed as a prison, and she was the prisoner. She began to understand what Officer Seo-jun had understood. She began to see what Dr. Park had finally realized. This was not paradise. This was a beautiful lie, and she had to find a way to escape it before she lost herself completely. She had to find a way to return home and tell the story. She had to be stronger than all the others who had come before her. She had to be the one who came back. That night, as she sat alone in a beautiful room made of light, Curie made a decision. She would play along with Earth's offer. She would appear to be giving in. She would let Daewon and the other beings believe that she was finally accepting the happiness. But inside, she would keep part of herself, hidden away. She would keep the part of herself that wanted to escape, locked deep inside where Earth could not find it. And when the time was right, when she had learned enough and understood enough, she would make her move. She would find a way home. She would be different from all the others. She would be the one who returned. For 14 days, Curie pretended. She smiled at Daewon. She admired the beauty of the planet. She appeared to be slowly giving in to Earth's happiness, just like all the others had done. And Daewon seemed satisfied with her progress. The being came to her less often. It seemed to believe that Curie was no longer a problem. It seemed to think that she would soon be completely merged with Earth, just like everyone else. But inside, Curie was doing something different. She was using her hidden strength. She was holding on to her memories. She would think about her home. She would think about the academy. She would think about the hard work and struggle that it had taken to become a cadet. She would think about her friends and her family. She would think about all the difficult things about life in her world, and she would remind herself why those difficult things mattered. Most people did not want to remember hard things. Most people wanted to forget pain and struggle. But Q-Ri was learning something important. The struggle was where the meaning came from. The difficulty was where the real happiness lived, not the artificial happiness that Earth offered, but the real happiness that came from achieving something difficult. The real happiness that came from connecting with other people through shared struggle. The real happiness that came from creating something, building something, making something that would not have existed without effort and sacrifice. She also began to explore the planet in a different way. When Daewon was not watching, she moved through the cities carefully and quietly. She studied how the beings worked. She learned where the communication devices were located. She found the place where the beings controlled the shuttle pads and launch systems, and she discovered something very important. The beings did not understand resistance. They did not understand the idea that someone would prefer struggle to comfort. So they did not guard the escape routes very carefully. They did not expect anyone to try to leave. On the 15th day after her decision to escape, Q-Ri found where Captain Min-seok was being kept. He was in a beautiful tower made of white stone and light. He was sitting by a window, looking out at the landscape. His face was peaceful, but his eyes were empty. When Q-Ri spoke to him, he did not respond. It was as if his body was there, but his mind was somewhere else. His consciousness had begun to merge with Earth. Soon, there would be nothing left of Captain Min-seok. There would only be a part of Earth that looked like a person. "I am sorry," Q-Ri whispered to him. "I am sorry that I could not save you." She left the tower and continued her exploration. She found Officer Taiko in a garden, sitting among flowers. He was smiling. He did not respond when she called his name. She found where Dr. Park had been taken. Dr. Park's room was filled with scientific equipment and data about Earth's structure and systems. But Dr. Park was not there. When Q-Ri asked a passing being where Dr. Park was, it told her that Dr. Park had already merged. She had given up trying to resist on the 4th day after Officer Seo-jun left. Her consciousness was now distributed throughout the planet. She was part of Earth, and part of Earth was her. Q-Ri realized that she did not have much time left. Each day that she stayed, it became harder to maintain her hidden strength. Each day, the pull to give in became stronger. She could feel Earth working on her mind, showing her more beautiful things, making her body feel more comfortable, slowly erasing the memories of pain and struggle that gave her meaning. She had to leave soon, or she would not be able to leave at all. On the 17th day, Q-Ri put her plan into action. She went to Daewon and told it that she was ready to give up fighting. She said that she accepted the happiness of Earth. She said that she wanted to merge with the planet like everyone else. Daewon seemed very pleased. It took her to a special place, a beautiful chamber in one of the cities. It told her that she would merge completely within a few hours. But as soon as Daewon left, Q-Ri moved. She had memorized the path to the launch pad. She had learned how the control systems worked. She had prepared herself for this moment. She ran through the corridors of the city. She did not look at the beautiful things around her. She did not listen to the beautiful music. She kept her mind focused on one thing and one thing only. She had to escape. The beings tried to stop her, but they were confused. They did not understand what she was doing. They had never had to fight someone who wanted to leave. All their experience was in keeping people happy, not in capturing them. By the time they realized what was happening, Q-Ri had already reached the shuttle pad. A shuttle was waiting there, prepared for departure. Q-Ri did not know why it was there. Perhaps it had been left by Officer Seo-jun. Perhaps it was meant to take other visitors away from Earth. It did not matter. What mattered was that she could use it to escape. She activated the systems with shaking hands. The engines began to warm up. The doors closed, and the beings outside began to understand. They understood that Q-Ree was different from all the others. They understood that she had not given in. They understood that she was choosing the struggle and the pain of the outside universe over the comfort and the happiness of Earth. As the shuttle lifted off the ground, Q-Ree looked down at the beautiful blue planet below her. It was the most beautiful place she had ever seen, but it was also the most dangerous place she had ever been. It was a paradise that was actually a prison. It was happiness that was actually death. The shuttle climbed higher and higher into the sky. The planet grew smaller and smaller, and Q-Ree began to feel the weight lifting from her mind. The constant pull toward happiness began to fade. The beautiful images that Earth had been feeding into her consciousness began to disappear. She was leaving Earth behind, but she knew that she would never truly escape it. Part of her would always want to go back. Part of her would always feel the pull of that beautiful world. But another part of her, the part that had fought so hard to remain herself, that part was free. That part was flying away into the stars. That part would return home with the truth. And as she looked at the blue planet one last time, Q-Ree made another decision. She had not come all this way just to escape. She had to make sure that Earth never took anyone else. She had to tell the truth about what was happening on that beautiful world. She had to make people understand why no one ever returned. She had to be the voice of everyone who had been lost,